start off with, that's okay, with the two of you, because
that's what the people want.
From the audience point of view, I think it might be. I mean, I think they get the idea what the cast members do, and I think they'd get the notion of what the writer does. But what do executive producers do?
It's a question we often get asked.
Such a good question.
And I was genuinely asked that by some of the people that employ me not that long ago, which went really well. So we sort of sit in the background. We sit in the background and eat a lot of biscuits. That's something I would say. So we from the sort of start, we will talk about what the themes are going to be for a series, and then we'll be there when the history team start doing the history research, and we'll sort of talk to them about the things that we then tell there's a whole history pack that the writers sit and go through, and then when the writers start sort of suggesting sketch ideas and writing scripts, we'll go through them, and then we sit there on set and sort of sit there going, is that funny? Does that work? Was that good? I don't know. And then in the edit,
it's a real blow to the confidence.
Yeah. We sit at the back eating biscuits and laughing. And then in the edit as well, we'll sort of sit across it. So we sort of sit across the whole thing, don't sleep very much, but it's a very enjoyable job.
Melissa, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're on now, this was series 9, and might be looking at doing more. So you're kind of thinking, everyone loves horrible.
Might be or are? Or we're not allowed to talk about that at the moment?
Well, we're quite busy at the moment, let's put it that
Might
way.
are.
Exclusive there.
But so we're constantly thinking, okay, we've got 9 fantastic series. What else can we do with the brand? What other themes can we have? What things that are kids into that we could reflect on in the series? So we're constantly trying to make it bigger, better. But really, as an exec producer, you're kind of these incredibly talented actors, performers, writers, producers. Our job is to sort of step back and enable them to do their very best work. And I guess the other thing is that as a BBC exec, kind of the buck stops with me. If there's something in there that people don't like, then I've got to explain myself. So, but yeah, so you're basically, I think of it as you're the biggest cheerleader for these incredibly talented individuals.
And Ben, moving over to you, I mean, I get, obviously, Greeks and Romans and Aztecs and Tudors, and all these kind of great sort of historical periods that you've covered and so well. But when they came to you and said the BBC, I mean, they kind of made it difficult for you. I mean, you've obviously done a great job, but I mean, that's not an easy subject to kind of make a Horrible Histories out of, is it?
No, some of the subjects are easier than others. Vikings are naturally funny.
Yeah.
The problem with the formation of the BBC is it was essentially a bunch of men in suits sitting in offices going, should we make a BBC? Yes, let's do that. All right, well, we'll do that then. So it was sort of the ship was holed at the start, and so it was. But that makes it more exciting. We were talking the other day. I think I've written 1,000 sketches for Horrible Histories now over the years, and so every time something new and exciting like that comes up, it makes it fresh for me personally. So, and then we had COVID as well, which hit that show. I don't know if anyone noticed. I don't think there were ever any moment where there's more than 2 people on screen during that show. So that was shot entirely during COVID and wasn't originally written that way. It was written before COVID. So a lot of the scenes and a lot of the sketches were. Sorry, were you coming on to this?
No, that's fine. I mean, it's a seamless flow. Perfect.
Yeah, and obviously very easy for writers because we spend our entire lives on our own. So that was originally conceived as there were lots of scenes with lots of, like the Doctor Who sketch would have had lots of monsters running around and would have been a big scene normally that would have done. So there was an extra challenge.
Real kangaroo.
With a real kangaroo.
No.
Yeah, we had an elephant all lined up, but he got elephant COVID.
I mean, touching on what you were just saying then about filming during COVID, I mean, Jess and Richard, from your point of view, how did that kind of affect what you were able to deliver? And I guess you had to be in bubbles with people and all that kind of stuff, did you?
Well, that particular shoot was just a week where we did these short episodes. We'd not really seen anybody and hadn't seen each other, but then we couldn't really hang out with each other either. And normally we'd all creep onto... Yeah, it was very strange. And we'd all creep onto set normally to watch each other film and be able to be in sketches together. And so that's the first time I've seen anything that I wasn't in because we weren't allowed to be on set when we weren't
and it was
needed.
Filmed really quite a long time. I mean, this is not going to be shown, I think, for a while. So it's a real...
This was November 2020 preview. We shot this.
Yeah, so it's like 18 months ago you made it as well.
And it's hard because it's such an ensemble show and you've got your playmates And when it's just you on your own, it's suddenly like, oh, where's my friends to do the silly voices with? So you just feel a bit like an idiot sometimes.
I say it's particularly hard with comedy because it's very hard to tell what's funny if there's not somebody there, giving you feedback. So, I think they've done an amazing job to pull it off without a room full of people smiling.
Hence the execs, and they just sit there with the biscuits and they go, yeah, it's good. Yeah, funny. It's funny. Yeah.
There's a lot of work to do with wearing a face mask. A lot of work to do with your eyes, trying to tell people that was good. It's very so that they at least they can see you're sort of smiling.
Stuffing biscuits under your mask.
Biscuits under the mask, yeah.
And having just watched that back after all this period of time, when you reflect on the episode we just watched, did you have particularly sort of favourite characters that you did, or were there any kind of moments you sort of think about fondly, or was it just too hideous because of the whole COVID thing?
My favourite was the German guy that I voiced that went, his voice box has exploded. That's my favourite character I've ever done, I think.
Wow, that's right.
So I'm going to go with that.
What about you, Jen?
Well, it's funny because I didn't remember having recorded quite a lot of those animation links, because you do them all so quickly. You just go into the booth and you've not seen any of the animation yet because that all happens afterwards. And they say, read these words. And you're not even reading them with the other people. So you're just doing your lines in isolation. So, yeah, it's a surprise to me as much as it is to you guys.
Literally,
great. I'm really
we were
thrilled.
just like whispering to each other, is that me? Is that my voice? Because we're all putting on voices as well. So you kind of fool yourself sometimes. Like, is that me?
And was doing it and the animated sketches, was that because of the COVID situation, or had you always planned to do that?
No, it came out of COVID. Yeah, I think we've done sort of the odd animated sketch or bit in the past, and we have the animated links in the show. But yeah, it was sort of a product of us sitting, in our homes on Zoom in like April 2020, I think it was. Richard's up there somewhere, that we started having conversation about, maybe we could do animated sketches and sort of, at least then do some work and some filming while everyone was locked down. So yeah, we, as Ben sort of talked about, we'd already got live action scripts written at that point for a BBC show, and a couple of the other shows that we did, and so we started to then sort of re-engineer them after sort of talking to Melissa about the idea of doing animated sketches. Then
But we love the animated sketches, don't we? We kind of want to do more of them.
Yeah, they're
What
good
do you
fun.
think? Did you like the animated sketches?
Yeah, they allow you to sort of.
Thumbs up there. That's very good.
It'd be awkward if they said no.
Yeah, wouldn't it? That was a problem. Yeah, but it allows you to do things like have a kangaroo.
Well, I mean, I guess you still got to do a bit of vocal, but it's very different, isn't it? Kind of, I mean, I guess when you're actually doing a voice character with animation, you're still having to act, but everything has to come through your voice, which actually is possibly more difficult because there's no gestures or costumes. It's purely down to you, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And you don't need to learn lines, so that's good.
You need to be able to read. That's a key
just a bit
thing.
of reading.
But
No.
you get really sweaty because you're sort of leaping around in a box trying to get all of the information.
Do you
into your
sit
voice.
down or do you stand
Oh,
up?
no, I stand.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
to stand. I am so physical when I do voiceover. I'm literally, like, the other day I was like doing this. It's like, what am I doing?
That was before he went in as well.
Yeah,
just waiting.
literally, I just need the toilet. Yeah.
But then we got to shoot a proper series last year, and so it was such a great relief after having that sort of weird hybrid, like in a bubble version of the show, to be able to just go full at it and have a lovely time being on set together, being on locations, wearing proper costumes, and it was brilliant. It was.
And tell us about the choice of host and how that kind of came about.
So, in late October, I think it was, I sort of called Melissa up, and I said, I do love a bit of Strictly Me, and I sort of said to Melissa, I think Rose is going to win, and I think she's great, and I think that we should sort of see if we can get her to host the show, because I think I don't think our audience, Horrible Histories audience, has seen anybody on screen also sort of signing while they're doing the links, and I think I thought she's such a great character, Rose. She's really inspirational, and I thought that it just sort of fitted in with celebrating the BBC and what the BBC does.
She's a total delight.
Yeah,
and she's very funny.
Yeah,
so she was perfect.
I wish I was a betting man because I was right. But yeah, no. So we started that conversation in October, and we filmed with Rose in early January. But I think she does a great job. She really makes me laugh.
Richard, I wonder if we just talk about, obviously, one of the things about the show is that some of the things that we learn about the sort of different historical situations is actually, there are a lot of big surprises in there. I wonder if you just tell us about how you kind of find those sort of fun facts that we look out for during Horrible Histories. So, I'm sorry, Ben. I'm saying.
So don't ask me that. I don't know
To
anything.
know what he was going to say.
Actually, Richard, tell us about
No,
research you've done.
no, I just do the faces and the voices.
Sorry, I was looking at Ben and saying, sorry, Ben.
So we have a team of researchers who spend, I don't know, 6 months, 3 months or something before we start writing. There's a process. The execs decide on the subject matter, then the researchers go out, and then they find this stuff that we couldn't do it without. And every year we they come up with new stuff. There's also, because so essentially each writers meeting there's a pack of about 25 pages on whatever that subject is. But because we've been doing it a while, there's often stuff that we haven't managed to work in yet. So there's sort of a bit of backlog where you kind of go, oh, do you remember that we couldn't crack that, but now maybe we can. And there's also, I think, the more that we work on it, that I think you get interest in it. Jess writes a lot of it as well, I should say. I'm getting billed as the writer, but she's both. So I think the more you do it, the more interested in it you get. So quite often, it's sort of like the bane of the researchers that become. I was reading this book the other day, and it said that Winston Churchill was the basis for Willy Wonka. And they go, oh, what have you been reading? But every now and again, something will come out of one of the writers will say, what about this? And then they'll look at it and go, no, it turns out that's true. So the ideas come from all over, but these packs that we have are gold, and I keep them from every series. I've got the packs from like series 1 on my shelf, and I still go back, like we're doing Victorian, saying, like if we're doing a Victorian thing about food, there's way back, there's stuff that I've got on that helps. It sort of feels like cheating.
From a cast point of view, I mean, you had to be really versatile because you could be swapping accents and sometimes you had to sing and dance. I mean, there's an awful lot expected of you. I mean, just tell us about that, and also I'm just really intrigued to know what kind of roles you most enjoy doing, or whether there's particular roles in the series you enjoy doing.
Oh my God. We've done so many characters.
Yeah, it's
now.
also always really hard to remember, even in a day, because you could get up in the morning and be a cave woman, and then by the end of the day, you're a queen, which is great, and how every day should be. But you can't remember what you've done throughout the course of the day, and then you watch it back and go, oh my gosh, all I remember from that day is those shoes were too small, or it's very
I remember one call sheet. I took a photo, and I think I was a caveman, Charles II, and an Oompa Loompa. And that was my day. So what is my life? But yeah, I can't quite, remember all the I mean, they're all so much fun. It's kind of, it's the script, it's the situation, it's the day. There are occasionally days where it's like, I'm really tired and in a bad mood, and then I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, oh, okay, I can't really whinge about my life, can I? Because look at myself. But there was one day where I was in a really stinky mood and I was playing Dali, and I just had, these huge, this moustache. I was wearing this scuba mask.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, we're like, oh, I'm in a bad mood today. And then you just look at each other. It's like, what is this? What is our lives? But it's joyful, and there's been some wonderful characters that we've played.
And also, like in rehearsals, you get to come and hear all the stuff for the first time, and you get to learn dance routines, and you try your best to remember them, and it's just brilliant. It's the absolute best job.
How is it determined who does which role? Because obviously they are very versatile, and they are kind of capable of doing whatever. And I don't know whether you ever get kind of like role envy, like so Tom gets one running, I wish I'd, or vice versa. But how is it all determined who does what?
Timings.
Yeah, I mean, there's an enormous puzzle that starts to get put together weeks before we film, and sometimes that's there are certain characters. So Jess plays Queen Victoria, so there are certain people that we know. Okay, so Jess can do that, and then we start filling in the other roles by going, okay, who would be good at that role? What does it need? But also then you're looking at, okay, and what's the next sketch, because we might need that actor to be that character in that next sketch. So it's
any character that's really intricate and subtle, you give to me, don't you?
Subtle.
Yeah.
Subtle is Richard.
Yeah.
Subtle, withdrawn. Yeah. Lots of micro gestures. That's all. So
I mean, I was on the IMAX today. My gestures were so big.
I like the way that you punch the floor during the song.
Yeah.
CBBC.
CBBC.
It's always my favourite bit. So yeah, it's a real puzzle.
And without wanting to kind of sort of to bring it kind of right down though, but is there a sort of sense of responsibility when you're playing characters as you're getting nearer the sort of up to date, and you're portraying people either who are either still alive or at least their families are still around? People like Verity Lambert or Lord Reith or whoever it might be. Do you think about the fact that actually they've probably still got like sort of grandchildren who are around or whatever?
Probably should.
No,
Yeah.
We do on
we
your
d-
behalf. Don't worry.
we
do
do,
on your
yeah,
behalf.
That's their job.
Yeah, we do think about that in the writing phase, because sometimes we might portray a character like Henry VIII, for example, he's a more outlandish and sometimes quite horrible character compared to
We've got Valerie Singleton who actually still is with us.
Valerie Singleton. Yeah,
It's not like with Henry VIII. It's like, too soon.
Yeah.
Because it's not. We've given that a
Yeah,
while
I
now.
don't think Verity Lambert had anyone executed.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do think about it. Yeah.
And there are some bits of history, more modern history, that just doesn't feel funny.
Yeah.
So
how
we're very
far
aware of
can
that.
you- from all the shows you've done so far, is there a kind of an agreed cut-off point that you have as to what you'll go up to?
I think the most modern is Space Race and
Yeah,
Mandela.
it's kind of the 60s is where we are now. We kind of don't really touch anything.
We
beyond that.
used to, so that's something that's actually changed a bit over the years. That in the early days we had a not within living memory kind of rule
As you got
guideline.
older.
Yeah, because once you start doing things that people remember, then you get in very complicated situation because everyone remembers things differently. But as things progressed, it meant that we weren't covering things like the huge things like the Second World War or like the space race, and so we've developed ways of doing those as well, which has really enriched it, I think, because that stuff's history too, right? I mean, the fact that my parents remember it, my daughter who's up there, she was. It's like it's
history now, aren't we?
2
On
generations
the
ago.
IMAX of Horrible History.
Yeah.
Soon there'll be a Brexit episode, I guarantee. Balmy Brexit.
Have you decided who you'd like to play? There's a few characters you could play. I think,
Yeah.
in that one.
I mean, fingers crossed for Bojo. That would.
I'm thinking
Branagh's got that one.
Reese Mogg is happening right here.
Yes.
Look at that.
I'd love that.
It's a very easy bit of casting right there. There it is, lounge.
Yeah.
Because the BBC's 100 years old this year, so we wanted to do something to sort of talk about that from the angle of children's TV as well as generally.
It's one of the things that happens in this period really early on with each series where Melissa and Simon kind of have to come up with 13, 15 episodes. And so we look at what the anniversaries are and things like that come up.
And I know I'm biased, but I think it's something really worth celebrating because only the BBC would have commissioned Horrible History. So hooray.
I mean, it must
Hooray
be-
for the BBC.
It must have been difficult
Hip
to
hip.
decide who was going to play the bug-eyed monster.
If the costume
Was it?
fits.
I mean, it was always going to be me. It was
The
always.
good thing was there probably wasn't that much need for makeup and costume particularly.
Nothing. As I say, subtle.
I like to be a Georgian because they had very tall wigs. And when we get to play Georgians, we have like these cages and the wigs are built around them. And then sometimes they'll put like birds in them and boats in them and like beads and other things that don't begin with B, like flowers. So that's really fun. But by the end of the day, your neck's really sore. But it's quite fun to put on.
And I'm going to go with big as well. I like the kind of French aristocratic poodle-like wigs. They seem to put me in them quite a lot. I think I suit them. And just big, curly. Yeah, it's very over the top and fun. Money. No, I'm joking.
Because the BBC is awash with money, isn't it?
No, I mean, what an institution. I mean, wasn't there a poll? It was like one of the favorite shows of all time or something. I don't know, but it's so loved. I mean, that's why you guys are here, and that's why we're here too. We love it.
And it's a dream job for us because we get to just be silly with our friends and do silly voices and dress up and like, you know.
There's
be-
going to
be
come a point
daft.
where we have to grow up, but it's not yet.
No, not quite yet.
So basically, money and silliness, and then for you two, it's biscuits.
Yeah. The key thing is to hire some people who know about animals. So in the same way that we have historians who know all about history, because I know nothing. I mean, my role is sitting at the back going, what, really? I mean, is that true? So yes, get some very clever people in who love animals and will write you some interesting things down about animals that you can then turn into TV.
There we go. Has that made you feel inspired to go ahead and do your animal episode?
Probably not.
Yes, I think
But
that's
go for it. You could write out a little running order about what do we see first, and then what do we see second, and how long you want it to be, and then add up the time on the right hand side, and then if it adds up to about 28 minutes, then you're probably onto good format,
And then nick your mum's phone and then just film some
Yep.
stuff.
and then you'll be there. But go for it. Really good luck. Look
I
forward to
w-
seeing it.
I would add, don't worry if it's good. Don't just do it. Everything starts out bad and gets better. So
Should see some of the scripts I turn in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something start out bad and they stay. No.
And I'm free to be in it if you need me.
I'd like to be
Wow.
Queen Victoria because she's very authoritative and really gets what she wants. What do you reckon?
That's a really good question. I like all the Swedish voices that we do. Because like,
your everyday voice.
yeah, with my everyday voice. I mean, you couldn't really be sad if you talk like that all the time. So I would go with that.
It starts off, you're very excited to be there. By the end, you're quite tired because we shoot. So on some TV programs, you might shoot about 5 pages of script in a day. In Horrible Histories, it can be anywhere between 15 and 20. So it's very, very, very fast. And it's a bit of a whirlwind, but it's great fun.
It's like a sketch sweatshop.
Can't
no.
say that.
That's a lot you have to learn in this. I mean, that's a lot of lines you have to learn.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think your brain kind of clicks into the practice of it. So the first few days, you're taking longer to learn your scripts than by the end. It's like, you're playing this tomorrow. Here it is. Cool. Okay, it's in. So that muscle gets stronger the more you go on during the series.
But it's so much fun. It's like everything's just really quick and you're fast paced going, you know, in a makeup chair. Right, what accent am I? What wig am I wearing? And then you're just thrown out and suddenly a camera's filming and you're like, and then on to the next character. So it's manic and it's enjoyable and everyone's lovely. And yeah, it's
But
really
all
fun.
of that is made possible by having amazing people behind the scenes, making us look like the characters, giving us the right clothes to wear, making the sets look amazing. You can walk into the studio set and it can be an Egyptian set in the morning, and in the afternoon it's a World War II bunker. It's like the turnaround on everything in every department that you don't see is much more impressive than anything we do.
Because we tend to make 15 at a time, which takes about a year from start to finish, pretty much, from when we start researching through to the final edit.
Different orders, are you?
So what we do is we go, okay, here are episodes. How many of those episodes need to be in the Tudor period? So then we work out, okay, so now we need to go and shoot at that particular Ingatestone Hall that we shoot at that does Tudors. We work out how long we need to shoot there. So we shoot. Sometimes we don't even shoot a full sketch at once. We'll shoot a bit of a sketch at once because we're then going to shoot another bit here and another bit there. And so again, there's a sort of you know, our team of people, small team of people that work really, really hard trying to organize all that and make sure we don't forget anything, because obviously if we forget a piece of a sketch, then we probably can't show it and there's not much we can do to sort of fix it in the edit. So yeah, it takes a long time. It takes about 12 months which is why I look as tired. I'm 22, you know, but look at me. That's what it's done to me.
I think my favorite is we did a sketch called Frozen Freuchen or something. Yeah, which was a Frozen parody where I had to be the. No, you're gonna have to say the history of this.
So the history of this is that there was an explorer called Peter Freuchen, and I think this is the 60s, 50s, 60s. Richard, is that right? The 30s. Peter Freuchen was an explorer, and he was somewhere very, very cold and snowy and icy, and he got buried in a snowdrift, and he was there for a long time, and he realized that the only way, and this is true, that he could get out of the snowdrift was to do a poo, wait for it to freeze, and then he used it to chisel his way out. And that is the perfect Horrible Histories sketch right there. So we turned that into Let It Go, and that's what Richard did.
Yeah, and then I had a duet with my poo, and we sung together, and it was a really beautiful thing.
And yes, we did get complaints.
Yeah, did we?
So we have a writers' meeting, and then a week later we all deliver ideas, and then a week or 2 weeks after that we deliver first drafts. A week after that, second drafts. Then I do a pass on everything. A week after that, and then about 2 weeks after that we do a polish. So if you can add that up,
Some weeks.
some weeks. So the
About
answer is
8?
about 2 months.
Yeah, about 8 weeks.
But all the episodes are running concurrently. So we have so episode 1 starts week 1. Episode 2 starts week 2 when you're coming up with ideas for episode 1, and episode 3 starts week 3 when you're doing drafts for episode 1 and ideas for episode 2. And so by the time you get to about by week 7, you're working on 7 shows at the same time.
Absolutely.
The things that sort of stay in your head are the random things. So if somebody asked me to tell you some dates of a reign of a monarch, I would have no clue. But I could tell you that Tutankhamun liked playing board games and that Winston Churchill did a really good gorilla impression. So it's those bits that stay in your head.
So it's a really important piece of history.
Yeah, it's this stuff that you will get tested on in your GCSEs.
Like one of my favorite things from history was there was someone who used I don't know what period this again, no idea what periods this is, but someone used to be a human toilet because there weren't any toilets around, and so
Thomas Butcher.
Thomas Butcher, okay,
Yes.
and he used to just go around with a cape and someone would sit on him and he would have a bucket there, and the cape would go round and he would be a human toilet. It's like that's an interesting part of history that we don't learn enough about at school.
Anything with a really tight corset, because it's just it makes you burp loads, and yeah, it's really uncomfortable. I like being comfortable.
Yes.
So the more uncomfy the costume, the less I like the character.
That's so true. Anything as a man with a massive beard.
Oh, the
I
boys
hate
get so grumpy
beards.
about their facial hair
Yeah.
and moan about
You know,
beard on.
if it's a Viking day, it's a bad day.
Yeah, they're all miserable on Viking days. It's really it's not a fun
I
place
can't
to work.
I don't have anything against beards. I love beards, but it's how we apply it. You know, that it's like it just attaches itself to your whole face. And it feels like you've got a rash over your whole face. And when we're eating lunch,
Yeah, try doing it with the Queen Victoria prosthetics, mate.
Okay.
Come on.
okay, you win.
Prosthetics, are they?
Yeah. Yeah. Cave woman.
I was going to say
Ever so
caveman.
comfy. It's a lovely loose smock. Yes, please. Bit of fur if you need to get warm. Thank you very much.
But on the other side of it, like Victorian clothing is so fitting. I mean, it probably wasn't nice for you with corsets and things, but for a man, it was always just so sleek, and I'm very, tall and skinny, so it just kind of made me feel very well dressed and smart.